Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Hello.
Today, we're immersing ourselves in a really foundational text, The Serpent Power by Arthur Avalon.
That's right. A classic in its field.
And we're focusing specifically on section 4, the part titled Mantra. That's pages, 83 through 102?
Yep, 83 to 102. And our mission really is to unpack what this text presents about mantra, its nature, where it comes from, how it functions in this tantric system.
It's fascinating stuff how sound, consciousness, reality itself are seen as interconnected.
Deeply interconnected. It goes way beyond just simple definitions.
Okay, let's dive in and see what insights this section holds for us.
Sounds good.
So right off the bat, the text defines mantra not just as, prayer or some formula.
No, it immediately elevates. It calls it a mystic syllable and, maybe more importantly, a power.
A power, mantra shakti.
Exactly. And this isn't just some vague, abstract idea of power. It's described as a force with, potentially very strong effects.
Wrong.
The text mentions it could even injure or cause death. Or, on the other hand, lead to a kind of profound union with the physical.
Wow. Okay, so that definitely takes it beyond simple chanting.
Absolutely. And it mentions this power can be used partially or totally, right at the start.
Highlighting its potency then.
Definitely. And it immediately connects this power, this mantra, to Śabda.
Śabda, which we might translate as sound or maybe word, but it feels deeper here.
It is deeper.
Yeah.
Think of it as the underlying principle or reality of sound. And a really key distinction is made early on.
Which is?
Between lettered Śabda, the principle which is considered eternal, unproduced, and Dhamani. That's the transitory sound, the physical sound that we actually make with our vocal cords. That's seen as fleeting.
So the sound of my voice right now, that's Dhamani, temporary.
That's the idea, yes.
Yeah.
It manifests ideas in language, but only temporarily.
But the potential behind it, the sort of essence of meaningful sound itself, that's the eternal Śabda.
That's the core concept. Lettered sound, the fundamental vibration of meaning, is eternal. And the text links this to the Indian understanding of perception.
How so?
It talks about how external objects, artha, create impressions on the mind, samskaras, which then lead to mental representations, vritti.
Right, the mental modification.
Exactly. And mantra is presented as deeply woven into this. It links our inner mental world, which he calls madhyama Śabda,
Madhyama.
with our outer speech,
Prekari.
and connects both to the perceived world, the artha.
So mantra is like a bridge between inner thought and outer reality.
That's a good way to put it. It bridges those levels. And here's where it gets really interesting, I think.
Go on.
The text introduces the idea that mantra can be awakened.
Awaken.
Yeah, the term used is mantra chaitanya.
Mantra Chaitanya. So the mantra isn't just a tool like a hammer you pick up. It's conscious.
That's the implication. It's presented as a conscious force, a living power within the sound itself.
That fundamentally changes how you'd approach using it, I imagine.
Absolutely. The practice becomes about activating or engaging with that inherent consciousness, interacting with a form of intelligence, really.
Okay, so if mantra is this conscious power, where does the text say it originates? What's the source?
It traces it all back to an ultimate, absolute cause, something motionless. It's called parashabda.
Parashabda, supreme speech.
Supreme speech, exactly. Think of it as the unmanifest potential, the absolute silence or stillness from which all vibration, all sound eventually emerges.
And from that absolute stillness, it doesn't just appear fully formed, it unfolds.
Right. It manifests through distinct stages, moving from that causal, subtle level towards the gross physical sound we experience.
And these stages are important to understand.
Crucial, yeah. They map the journey of consciousness into sound. The first is para, that supreme speech we just mentioned. Unmanifest, causal, beyond our usual perception.
The absolute source. Then what?
Then comes pashanti, stage 2. This is described as sort of inner hidden speech, the very first impulse of ideation. It's linked to the will. Icha Shakti.
Icha Shakti. And the text connects this to a specific place.
It associates its seed level with the Muladhara chakra, the root center.
Okay. Para, then Pashanti. What's next?
Stage 3 is Madhyama, middle speech. This is more like mental speech, thought-taking form. It's described as a form of knowledge, jnana, an ideating movement.
Mental speech.
Yeah, associated with the subtle body are samskaras, those mental impressions, and linked to the anahata chakra, the heart center.
Interesting. And the final stage?
That's Vaikari, stage 4. This is the uttered speech, gross physical sound that we actually speak and hear.
The Dhamani we talked about earlier.
Exactly. This Vaikari stage is linked to action, Kriya Shakti, and its main seat is the Vishuddha chakra, the throat center.
So para, pashanti, madhyama, vaikari, a progression from absolute potential to physical sound.
Precisely. It's described as Shakti, the creative cosmic power, unfolding yourself from the most subtle potential into the gross reality we experience. It's a cosmic process, but also happening within us.
That really paints a picture. How does this connect to the idea of Śabda-Brahman? I know that term comes up.
Good question. The text presents Śabda-Brahman as the ultimate cause of both manifested Shabda, sound meaning, and Artha, objects form. It's like the ideating aspect of the supreme consciousness before it splits into specific sounds and forms.
So the stages para to vaikari are how Śabda-Brahman actually manifests.
That's the idea. It's the process by which that divine potential for sound and meaning unfolds into the world.
And sphota, where does that fit in?
Sphota is mentioned too. It's described as the eternal, formless Shabda. It's the underlying principle of meaning itself, the sudden flash of understanding that a word or sound can trigger.
So it's not the physical sound, but the meaning that bursts forth.
Exactly. The sounds we make vaikari arise from or reveal the sphota, but the sphota itself is that instantaneous grasp of meaning, maybe even before the words are fully formed in the mind, that aha moment.
Okay, this is intricate. So we have the source in Parashabda, the stages of manifestation. Now, how does this relate more concretely to the body, to the chakras?
Right, the text makes very specific connections here. A key concept is the association of letters, garna, with the petals of the lotuses described in the chakras.
Letters, like A, B, C written on the petals?
No, not literally like that.
They.
It's crucial to understand these aren't physical inscriptions.
So what are they then?
They represent subtle sound vibrations, specific uttered sounds, or ucharana. They're linked to the resonance, the energetic quality of that specific chakra. Think of them as inherent vibrational qualities.
Okay, subtle sound forms associated with each energy center.
Exactly. And the text goes further, linking these sounds not just to the chakra's energy, but also to specific devatas, deities, or divine aspects residing there, and even to the datas.
Dashas, the bodily tissues.
Yes. For example, it mentions the sounds associated with the Muladhara, the root chakra, are connected to Astidhatu, bone tissue.
That's incredibly specific, linking subtle sound to physical tissue.
It is. And the source provides detailed correlations like the sounds, elements, tattvas, qualities, deities for the chakras up to Ajna, the third eye. It shows this profound integration of sound and vibration within the subtle and even the gross body.
And this is also where the bija mantras come in, right? The seed sounds.
Absolutely. Sounds like lamb for earth in Muladhara or ram for fire in Manipura.
And what are they, according to this text?
The bijas are described as being like the very essence of the tattva, the fundamental element or principle of that specific chakra. They're the concentrated sound form of that energy.
So putting it all together, the sounds, the letters, the bijas in the chakras aren't just symbols you meditate on.
No, they're presented as much more. They are subtle forms called matrika, or even the very essence of Shabda as it localizes in that energy center.
It really drives home that connection, sound, energy, consciousness, all interconnected within the body's subtle anatomy. The sounds are the energy patterns, in a sense.
That's a very good way to capture it. They aren't just pointing to the energy, they're a form of that energy.
Yeah. So we've got this complex understanding. Mantra as conscious power, its cosmic origin, its connection to the chakras. How is this knowledge actually used in practice? What's the purpose behind it all?
Well, according to the Serpent Power, the practice of mantra is absolutely central to the goals of Kuṇḍalinī yoga.
How so?
It's seen as a primary method, a key tool for rousing the Kuṇḍalinī energy itself and moving the practitioner towards spiritual realization, towards liberation.
And the main practice involving mantra is japa, the repetition.
Yes, japa, the repetition of mantra, is key. But again, the text emphasizes this isn't just mindless repetition. It's not just saying a sound over and over.
What makes it different?
It involves worship, or perhaps better put, conscious engagement with the devata associated with that specific mantra.
God, the deity aspect again.
Right. And here's a really fundamental principle in this system. The mantra and its devata are considered to be essentially one and the same.
The sound is the deity.
In essence, yes. The mantra is the sound body of the devata. So the practice isn't just vocalizing. It's engaging directly with the conscious power, the being embodied in that mantra.
That mantra Chaitanya we discussed earlier, the awakened consciousness within the sound.
Exactly that. You're interacting with that. And this conscious engagement, this japa performed correctly, is said to work on the practitioner's inner world.
How does it do that?
It's said to enliven the inner impressions, the samskaras, related to that mantra's energy and meaning. And by doing so, it helps manifest the corresponding artha.
Artha being the meaning, the object, the reality.
Yes, all of that. It brings the reality, the state of being that the mantra represents into the practitioner's conscious experience. The vibratory power, carrying that conscious intent, activates latent potential.
So it's a tool for profound inner transformation then?
That's precisely the aim. The ultimate goal described here is the transformation, the elevation of the practitioner's consciousness, leading towards realizing that divine power, that Shakti, within oneself.
So that was quite a journey through Section 4 on mantra in the Serpent Power. We've seen how Arthur Avalon's work presents mantra not simply as words or chants.
No, far from it, but as a profound, conscious power, intimately linked to the very fabric of consciousness and reality as understood in this tradition.
We traced its origin, its emanation, from that ultimate stillness, parashabda.
Through those key stages, pashanti, madhyama, and finally vaikhari, showing how consciousness unfolds into sound and the manifested world.
And we explored its really deep integration with the body's subtle energy system, the chakras.
Yeah, where the letters and seed sounds, the bijas, aren't just symbols, but are presented as subtle energetic forms. The matrika, connected to elements, deities, even body tissues.
It paints a picture of mantra practice as this sophisticated, very conscious way of engaging with these different layers of reality.
Definitely. A method aimed squarely at awakening inner power, Kuṇḍalinī, and ultimately transforming consciousness towards realizing the divine within.
Thinking back over our discussion, what particular insights about mantra, as described here, stand out most to you?
That's a good question. For me, maybe. Maybe it's the radical interconnectedness it posits. But for a final thought for you, our listeners, to consider.
Okay.
Think about the profound implication here. This ancient system views the sounds we use, the thoughts we think, not as abstract or fleeting things happening just inside our heads.
Right.
Instead, they're understood as tangible conscious forces. Forces capable of directly shaping not only our inner state, our consciousness, but potentially the very reality we perceive around us. The power of sound is a truly creative reality-forming principle, something to really mull over.